Oh, it's streaming live on Facebook now, it says.
Perfect. All right, we got 12 people in here. Welcome. Hi, everybody. We're just getting started. Thanks so much for joining us here today. All right, perfect. One more second.
Man, Sean looks awesome. I like his backdrop. Sean looks awesome. I like his backdrop.
All right, I think we're gonna get started here. Welcome, everyone. Hello, hi, Sean. All right, well, good afternoon and welcome to the LGBT Network's Workplace Initiative webinar today, which is celebrating Pride virtually with your employees. We're gonna get started here. Welcome, everyone. Oops. Hello, hi, Sean.
Oh, look at Sean. I like Sean's background. Are we freezing?
No, we're not freezing. I have to lower my volume on Facebook. Right. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the LGBT Network's Workplace Initiative webinar today. Someone else has their volume up on that. With your employees. We're going to get started here. Welcome, everyone. Oops. Hello, hi, Sean. Is that you, David? You got it. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Celebrating Pride Virtually with your Employee Resource Group. My name is Robert Vitelli. I'm the Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer for LGBT Network. Thanks so much for being with us today. It's really great to see everyone. And we have a really great panel for with us today as well. So we're going to jump right in with introducing our panelists. First, we have Alanna Russo from National Grid. Hi, Alanna. Hi,
how are you today?
I am wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to see you.
Same here. Thanks. Happy to be here.
We also have Sean Dwyer from Capital One. Hi, Sean. I unmuted you.
Hi. Yep. All good now. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
Excellent. And we want to thank Alanna and Sean. They are volunteers with the LGBT Network through the Workplace Initiative and our advisory council helping to grow our workplace initiative. So thank you so much. Thanks for all your support. Capital One is a supporter as well. And of course, National Grid is one of our workplace partners. So thank you both so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And I also like to welcome the LGBT Network founder, president, and chief executive officer, David Kilmnick. And we're going to be hearing from David a little bit more in a couple of moments about Pride as well. A couple of very quick housekeeping things. Number one, you can always use the chat, but we encourage people, if you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A. There is a button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be able to see that as we go through the day. We're going to be using 2 polls today, so that will pop up on your screen, and we encourage people to participate in that way. But definitely ask us questions. We're also, we are streaming live on Facebook, so if you're watching us on Facebook, please ask questions, and monitoring that as well so we can field as many questions as possible. But today, the purpose is really being able to help other companies, other workplaces, and workplace leaders to figure out what they want to do for Pride Month virtually during COVID-19, because hashtag Pride is not canceled. And we all know how important Pride is to the LGBT community and making sure that we celebrate who we are. With that said, David, do you want to take a moment to talk about Pride, or you want me to come back for that?
Come back to me. I'm trying to get a new image up. So.
Okay, no, we definitely will. So part of what we're going to do today is I'm just going to run through a couple of things about the organization and about our workplace initiative. But first, I actually want to ask a question of everyone who's participating here today. So the question is, does your workplace have an ERG? So we're going to launch that poll. If you could please let us know what's happening with your group. And if you're on Facebook Live, please let us know, does your workplace have an employee resource group already? Or are you planning to start one? Or maybe it's in process, or just no. And a lot of folks participating today have an employee resource group. Excellent. We love to hear that. Thank you so much. So what I want to do right now is I'm actually going to share my screen, and what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick overview of who we are as LGBT Network and our workplace initiative. And our tagline is "Be yourself, stay healthy, change the world." And we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a home and a voice for the LGBT community, their families and support systems. And that part, families and support systems, is really important because through our workplace initiative, we work with so many different people and a ton of allies who are doing a lot of work. These are the things that we really work to achieve: be themselves, stay healthy, change the world, including making changes in our workplaces. And that's the point of the Workplace Initiative, to advance diversity and inclusion efforts. And that's part of our ethos, creating safe spaces where we live, learn, work, play, and pray. We have our community centers, our flagship in Hop Hog, Nassau County to come online soon, our Long Island City Center, and of course, Hampton Center in Sag Harbor, our future community centers, including our LGBT-friendly, affordable senior housing complex in Bayshore, with a brand new LGBT center coming online in the coming year. We have 5 program areas, and these are the ways that we really deliver our programs and services to the community: education, organizing, programs and events, HIV services, support services, and our health insurance program. And we're reaching thousands and thousands of people each year, and over 1 million people through outreach and community organizing. But our workplace initiative, we have 5 pillars. Number 1 is our workplace trainings that anyone can take advantage of. We also have our professional education and networking breakfasts. And actually, we're going to be having, let me go back to that, June 3rd, we're going to be announcing our gender protections program. Please mark your calendar, Wednesday, June 3rd. And also mixers, of course, that's when we're face-to-face, our employee resource group work, which we're working on today, and of course, our advisory council. And I want to thank everyone from our advisory council who is involved in supporting our work. So thank you so very, very much. So that is about the LGBT Network briefly and our workplace initiative. So I want to start. David, do you want to go now, or do you want to, we come back to you again?
Sure, I'll go. Oh, that means, okay, so hey everyone, want to thank both Alanna and Sean for joining us today, and everyone else who's out there, not only for joining us on here, but for your continued support of the LGBT network, which makes it possible for us to do all the things that Robert just talked about. So thank you so much. At this time, we'd be going crazy right now, figuring out how to get ready for the tens of thousands of people that would come to Long Island Pride. And this year would have been, this year is, or would have been, the 30th anniversary of Long Island Pride. Let me just take us back 30 years, actually, how it started. I'm one of the founders of Long Island Pride also, and we had several other folks, 4 other people that got together, and we met because we said, you know what, we should be able to march in the streets of our own hometown. We shouldn't have to go into New York City just to celebrate who we are, to be out and proud, either as individuals or as businesses, or although people 30 years ago weren't really thinking about businesses marching. But we said we should be able to march on Long Island. And so, instantly, I mean, we got together and we said, we're going to have Long Island Pride. And we applied for permits to several different townships, and we got turned down by every single one of them. And in the town of Huntington, they decided to put something in writing that basically said that, we're not traditional people, and, they don't want us marching in, they don't want a LGBT pride parade in Huntington. And they actually suggested, and this was back in 1991, they actually suggested that we go march in the St. Patrick's Day parade. So I don't know what kind of drugs the guy was taking that wrote us that letter, because we still know how difficult it is for LGBT people to march in the St. Patrick's Day parade today in 2020. So we said, you know what, that's discrimination. And so we contacted the New York Civil Liberties Union. They represented us, and about a few days before the parade was supposed to take place, we won in a federal courthouse in Suffolk County. Judge Wexler, who unfortunately passed away last year or the year before, ruled in favor of us being able to have the Pride Parade. Now, we were gonna march in the streets no matter what. We didn't care if we got arrested. We said, you know, it's our right. We should be able to have a parade. And I'll never forget that first one in 1991 when we marched down Main Street, first New York Avenue onto Main Street in Huntington, up to Huntington Town Hall. There were thousands of people out there watching. There was also lots of protesters. There were snipers on the roofs trying to protect us. You know, and this is only 30 years ago, right? But we won. That was very empowering. Long Island Pride has, you know, taken a transformation over the years. Several years ago, we moved the event to be on the beach in Long Beach. And that kind of really changed the trajectory of Long Island Pride and being able to offer a lot more and bring a lot more people to the event. LGBT allied, you know, a ton of businesses and other organizations and churches and synagogues, schools. I mean, you name it. It really has become a community event. And this year we were really excited to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Long Island Pride as we moved it to one of the most iconic places that people know around the world because it's named as one of the top beaches around the world, Jones Beach. And we had a lot of great things planned. It doesn't mean that it won't take place because it's postponed. We're not canceling it. We're hoping that in August or early September, we're going to be able to have Pride as it was as Pride is designed to be. But you know, we all know how important Pride is. It's not only a good time, but it's certainly a visible. It's the most visible day or days or month, you know, that we have throughout the year, where you know hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people across our globe come together to really celebrate Pride, to support who we are, to show, to march in the streets, to have fun at concerts, to do these important things, to educate people. You know, and so, you know, Pride is not going to stop. It's not going to be the way that we intended it to be, obviously, and being at Jones Beach. But, you know, the LGBT network is, and you guys are getting a little bit of a preview of what we're about to release in the next couple of days of our virtual Pride, which will take place on the originally scheduled day, June 14th, 2020. We're not calling it virtual Long Island Pride because it's virtual, right? So people could participate anywhere. And we do think that it's going to have its reach. And so if you see over my, sometimes when you're on screen, I don't know if it's my right or left, but my shoulder here, you know, our Pride this year, we're not going to have, you know, the traditional Grand Marshals. Our Grand Marshal is every LGBTQ hero who's on the front line fighting for us. And so, you know, whether that's doctors, whether that's nurses, whether that's grocery workers, whether it's our FedEx or UPS or mail person, you know, there are LGBTQ heroes out there who have been doing the job to help save lives and to help make people's lives a lot better during this pandemic. And so, you know, we have a campaign we're going to be releasing in the next day or two for people to send us your LGBTQ heroes. Well, we know plenty. There are many we don't know. And so we're hoping that everybody participates by sending us their LGBTQ heroes. We will be posting that soon. And it also will be supporting, I got to move the other way, the newly launched fund that we launched yesterday called the New York LGBTQ Care Fund. One of the things that we did since we've been closed down since mid-March is we've done a really comprehensive community impact survey, both quantitatively and qualitatively, meaning that people filled it out online, and then we called and we spoke with people for interviews. And we wanted to find out what the needs were for our LGBTQ community now. What are they going through in this pandemic? And the results were startling that our local community, Nassau, Suffolk, and Queens, which is the region we serve, are three of the hardest hit counties in the entire nation, 3 out of the 5 hardest hit counties in the entire nation. And what we found was that 1 in 3 are having food insecurity issues, meaning that they can't get food or they can't afford food right now. Many people are having housing issues. There's high rates of depression and anxiety. And so, you know, the LGBT network has never run away from these challenges, has never run away from our community. We have to face them, and we have to make sure that we do what needs to be done to help our community. Because, you know, 365 days a year, the LGBT network is the first responder for our community. when things happen or we're out there on the front lines. So we created this care fund so that it could help support providing services to those who need it the most, and so that we could provide new services. And we're going to be working toward, with raising the monies, opening a food bank on Long Island and in Queens, for our LGBTQ community, while ramping up mental health services, which are greatly needed. So that's what the Pride is going to celebrate. We're going to have performances, which we're working on, performances, special guests. We're going to have speakers. It's going to be a great time. We're looking for ways for National Grid, Capital One, and other companies to get involved and virtually march and let people know about all the great things that are happening. So you have the exclusive look at what will be some of the branding behind me of our virtual Pride that will take place on June 14th. And thank you guys for being here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David. Thank you. That's great. I think it's a great prelude to talking about what National Grid and Capital One are got in the works in terms of planning for celebrating Pride virtually. So we're going to jump right in with some questions for Alanna and Sean, and thank you both again. So the first question, and really the big part here is, so we want to know what your ERG, what you're planning for Pride Month, and we just want to kind of hear where you're at, what you're planning, what you're looking forward to. Alanna, I'd love to start with you. What is National Grid? What do you got up your sleeves?
Yeah, so this year our Pride Month does look a little bit different than we have in the past, but we're really taking this shift and maximizing it. So National Grid, if you're aware, is a US and UK based company. So what's different and unique about this year is we can be ultra inclusive to involve everyone. Instead of just having a regional approach to the different events, just as you mentioned, whether we're Long Island or Boston or New York City or over in the UK, we can really hold events that we can include everybody, which is really great and a great way to be excited about Pride and involve not just the ERG members, but across the whole company, and build that awareness of our Pride ERG, which is really great and a lot of fun. Some things that we have shifted this year is we've traditionally done flag raising, where we have raised the flag of the Pride flag at our different offices. So we'll be doing that virtually this year. We'll also be encouraging our employees and members of leadership, as well as the ERG, to be doing flag raisings at their own homes. Whether they want to hang the Pride flag or draw a chalk Pride flag on their driveway. We'll be sharing that through our Yammer. So our company has a Yammer page, and we have a Pride Yammer, so we'll be able to share that across the whole business and celebrate Pride that way. We'll also be holding webinars similar to this. We will have Robert for a webinar, which I'm very excited for. We've had Robert join our company in the past for educational webinars, and again, they've been pretty local to Long Island and Brooklyn, and I'm excited that this will open up an opportunity for the whole company, anyone US or UK based, to be able to join a webinar that Robert will be leading for us, which will be exciting. And also some different webinars with members of our Pride ERG sharing stories, storytelling through webinars, as well as Yammer, which is exciting. And that's just a little bit of what we'll be interested in, and excited to hear what happens with LGBT Network, because we'll definitely be sponsoring and part of some of your events. So I'm excited to see what that brings.
Thank you, Alanna. That's awesome. We really appreciate your support. I love hearing what you're doing, and I think the opportunity as a multinational company to be able to make it even more inclusive, and I think being able to incorporate what people, how they're showing their pride at their homes even, and being able to share that, I think that's just so amazing. That's great. Really brilliant. Really brilliant. Sean, let's move to you. Tell us about your ERG and what you're planning for Pride Month so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously this year is unique for Capital One, as well as these are, unique circumstances that we've never dealt with before. So everybody's kind of wondering, what's going to happen with Pride. Typically, we would have been heavily involved with the parade in the city, getting more involved with the typical events on Long Island. So we kind of hit a roadblock where all the focus is usually on that this time of year. So we're like, okay, what do we do? So similar to Alanna, we're taking an approach where the national ERG has an opportunity to bring everybody together. So we're definitely doing speaker series similar to this, where we have either a high level executive within the company kind of speaking about Pride or personal stories. We are doing kind of like more casual stuff. So if you see my background is like kind of like a Pride flag, my own take on it. We've encouraged people to do stuff like that for specific days and kind of acknowledging things. We had one for the transgender day where everybody put that flag as their background who's part of the ERG. It's a simple way to kind of still acknowledge what's happening rather than just saying we're stuck at home, we can't do anything, so just forget it. Nobody wants to hear that. We're also looking into one of the things I'm most excited about is kind of doing a virtual Pride parade where we're trying to figure out the details, but kind of like using avatars and Bitmojis to make our own personalized Pride floats. And then we would display those on the Business Resource Group's internal website, the page, so you could see like New York, New Jersey, and everybody will kind of customize and kind of decorate their own little flag using probably like Microsoft Paint. But we're still figuring out all those details. Next week or in 2 weeks, we're doing a kind of virtual radio show, which I am actually hosting. So I will be spinning tunes that people have requested that in honor of Pride. We ask them to share a hashtag that they associate with Pride and kind of will display all of that. And then we're doing some fun trivia that's kind of LGBTQ plus oriented around that using Kahoot, I think it is. It's a pretty easy program that has very affordable programs that allows you to launch trivia and people can literally answer through their phones. So it's not difficult to navigate. And it's just another way to have fun. So that's basically what we're working on right now. But I am very excited to keep moving forward with more ideas.
Great, fabulous. That sounds terrific.
Mhm.
Wow. I love the innovation around the virtual parade float. I think it's really, really interesting and using technology to make it virtual and emphasize the virtualness of it. That's amazing. I want to see that. And I'm hoping that we can incorporate things like that.
Definitely.
Your two groups. That's amazing. I love it. So we're actually going to do a quick poll right now. I'm going to launch our second poll of the webinar, and we want to know, did your company already start planning for Pride Month? So we're putting that out there. We want to know where people are at. Did you already start planning? Because I think we have some great takeaways already from Alanna and Sean. Some folks haven't started planning yet, so this is a perfect time to get some of those great ideas. Alanna, what would you say has been a success in the planning? And what is it about the planning that's really been really great, or what's definitely something that you think has been introduced as an opportunity by very virtue of going virtually?
I think what makes our ERG a success is that we have, individuals that are so passionate about what we do and what we offer for the company and our employees. It's run by employees, but we also have senior leadership that is our supporters. And because of our passion and beliefs, it's just a great way to keep the momentum and the success. After World Pride last year, it was amazing to see how many employees came out to New York City and the events we were able to hold. What's really interesting too about our Pride ERG is that it's the only ERG that has their own unique National Grid logo. I do have a sample because I figured I'd share.
Cool.
But so National Grid typically just has, a dark blue look, and we're the only ERG that has a really awesome Pride flag logo. And we're able to have T-shirts that we've used. Even lapel pins that we wear on our lanyards when we're usually in the office. So we just, we have a lot of support from leadership and people that are passionate, employees that are passionate about the Pride and even keeping the momentum year round, not just with Pride Month, but especially during this.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, National Grid, I know from working with you, is really terrific and a wonderful, supportive, inclusive workplace. I think that's amazing. And I love, I love that the LGBT ERG has a special logo. I mean, that's really awesome. And I think if there's anything ever that says we're supportive, I think it's being able to support your LGBT ERG with some different branding. I think that's really awesome. And I like how you shared your in a sample. Thank you. That's great. Sean, how about you? Like, what would you say has been like a success in the planning or something that was really introduced as a new opportunity just by going virtual?
So, I mean, I think the obvious and the one that stands out the most is the inclusivity that comes along with going virtual. So, working for a company like Capital One, the ERG is open to all employees, including those that work in retail branches. So, a lot of times where we have typical events, they can't find the time to get away from a branch and kind of attend an event or the networking things that we do. So, this is the opportunity to say, like, nothing's pretty much holding you back. Like, you can participate with us because we're virtual. So you don't have to worry about, I can't just walk out of the branch while there's customers online. Like, they're not open right now, unfortunately. But, it's an opportunity and it's a way to make it different. I think that's definitely one of the bigger successes. I think also similar, again, to what Alana had mentioned, the contributions that are being made. So when we would do typical Pride, there's limits to how many people can be hands-on with that. Everybody wants to ride the float, build the float, decorate the float, but you kind of have to do the cut somewhere, otherwise it's chaos. But this is an opportunity to really personalize and say, okay, what's everybody's ideas? What do you think we can do? And the innovation and creativity that's come forward is amazing. So it just makes this even more unique than just because of the physical restrictions that are in place. It's everybody kind of coming together with their minds and saying, like, this is so important to us. And I think that especially during this, everybody's looking at a company's brand. Like, what are you doing during this? Like, everything is shut down and nobody's really supposed to go anywhere. So are you just kind of letting this go through the cracks, or are you, like, what are you doing to stand out? And I think the companies that are really making an impression of how important this is to be acknowledged. We always do swag every year that's, Capital One branded, but Pride themed. And I think they encouraged associates to order through the website, and they can expense it where we would normally hand out the swag. We can't do that. So they can order it and have it shipped to themselves. And I think our slogan this year, I'm not 100% positive, but it was something like together even when we're apart. And that's going to be the Capital One Pride 2020 shirt. Yeah, I mean, I think to me, it's special. Like, we're always going to remember this year in my mind. And then the way we acknowledge and celebrate is unique. And I think it's going to stand out even more so because of the thought and detail that went into it, because it's not the norm.
Great. Wow. Thank you for sharing all that. Yeah. I
Of
think
course.
for creativity, and I think sharing that creativity really is sensational. And it's, I do think it's amazing to be able to look at and think about what we get by, when we are forced with these physical restrictions, as you put it, and to be able to tap in some of those other talents and the innovation that comes from being a part. It is really phenomenal. It's amazing. So most of the people that responded to the poll did say that they have started planning, and I know that folks will incorporate some of these learning best practices that are really, I shouldn't even call them best practices because we're all doing it for the first time. So we're all learning from each other, which is part of the point today. Which is my next question, really. And Sean, we'll start with you for this one. What are your recommendations for other ERGs that are just getting started planning for a virtual Pride? What would you tell them?
So I think if you're just getting started, and everybody's setup is different, everybody's abilities and capability of what they have access to and resources varies. So if you feel like it's something that's not attainable, just start simple. Something like the virtual background, everybody's pretty much doing conference calls for the most part. You can change that. It's free. You literally just save a photo that you like. You can pick one. And then if you have a company brand, a logo, make sure that, you just kind of vet through your leadership and say, can we kind of customize and make something fun for Pride that we want to do? And just try and think of ways of getting everybody together. I think the go-to has been like a virtual happy hour, and my advice on that is they are very fun, but the larger they are, the crazier it is because everybody's just talking and nobody's really talking, if that makes sense. There's no conversation happening because it's just like, chatter back and forth. So if you contain it and kind of format it, I think it's going to be a better experience. Like we're doing that radio show, nobody can unmute themselves, but we're going to have an agenda. It's going to be interactive games, it's music you requested, and the chat, utilize the chat to have your conversations and kind of talk with one another and, shout out what you think is great. Those are my thoughts on that.
Great.
Sounds great. We are looking for, we are going to be doing a call out for people to submit audition tapes for performances. And I think it goes back to, some of what you both said before, is that this really gives us an opportunity to be a lot more inclusive. When we had the event in Long Beach and in Jones Beach, it was the Jones Beach Theater. Unfortunately, we couldn't have all the local entertainment or other people perform, because that's where actually the concert would have been, right, at Jones Beach Theater, which would be cool. And it'll happen, whether it's this year or next year. But, it really gives us an opportunity to showcase all that talent that is out there. And, there's only so much we can do, right, in 2 hours, which is what we're planning on right now. I mean, if some more of our special guests that we've reached out to come forward and are participating, and we've gotten confirmation from a few, but we can't release it yet, that, we'll make the event longer because we can, right? It's virtual. And so, so maybe Sean, actually, you'd want to DJ a portion of it.
It's possible. I mean, I don't have legit DJ equipment. I will be upfront about it. Like I utilize YouTube and Google Slides, but you make it work, and it's all stuff that's free. So, if you have a Spotify account, you just kind of make someone the host, and that's how you make that happen. But I mean, we could talk about it.
All right. Yep. Sounds like you're going to put together a good playlist to begin with. So
I try to.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Alanna, how about you? What do you recommend for other ERGs in terms of their planning and even just getting started? Where do they start for this?
I'm with Sean. Keep it simple, especially if you're just starting out. Get a group of people together that are doers and motivated to make things happen, and use the tools you have, like Zoom. I think it's pretty easy to pull people together through the Zoom or Microsoft Teams webinar style. It's very inclusive because anyone can join no matter where they are. No excuses. I like that. And another thing that's an easy way to celebrate Pride too that I know our ERG is working on to push out is just in your email signature. So adding your pronouns to your email signature and putting a little awareness around that is an easy lift to start the movement if an ERG is just starting up.
Alanna, thanks so much for sharing that about the pronouns, because I think if it's the pronouns, if it's something else, I think using Pride Month as a stepping stone to institutionalize something company-wide, I agree. I think it's a great opportunity, and we know from our experience that tons of companies use like Pride Month or National Coming Out Day as those stepping stones to grow something and to start something. And it really does help because those are the moments when people are really jazzed up and they're kind of on board and they're present. So being able to take advantage of those moments, I think that's really, really great. And because I think some of the other things, I think Sean, like you had said, I think the Zoom background, like mine, and doing something fun. And I think an opportunity for companies as well is being able to give employees backgrounds for some of their social media as well. Like a company branded Pride Month profile pic or the frame, like on Facebook, I think is a great opportunity for a company to show. Because I think we're all taught, the ERG is really focused on supporting employees. And Sean, I think what you said is, without a Pride Parade, that external part like isn't there. So how can you utilize and engage employees to be able to share that message publicly on an outward facing in an outward-facing way. So I think those social media profile banners and frames and pictures are also a really, really important thing. And I think the other thing is, this was mentioned, but I think doing that kickoff and bringing people together virtually in some capacity is really important, because I think people are so disconnected, and it's, how do you feel together, and how do you feel like you're celebrating together? I like the radio show idea, Sean, that you were talking about. And I think planning some type of virtual kickoff, I think is one of those other great things to do. We are accepting questions both here in Zoom and on Facebook. So if anyone has any questions for David, Alanna, and Sean, we are fielding those questions now. For Alanna and Sean and David, for anything that you want to add at this time in terms of thoughts about Pride and ERGs that maybe we haven't covered yet.
Well, what we want to do, and I changed my background since you said put social media backgrounds up, so there we go. What we want to do is really give an opportunity for everyone to show their pride, obviously. And, we know that the theme is honoring our LGBTQ heroes, and that's going to be a central focus of that, and making sure that we tell the stories, we tell their stories. And I think, Alanna, you had talked about, people telling their stories, and that is so important, right? Because it's stories that helps to change minds and change hearts. Because I mentioned before, about our community impact survey, about 1 in 3, going hungry, having food insecurity issues. And food insecurity, by the way, is not only just being hungry, it's not having access to the proper nutrients and et cetera, beyond a pandemic. And, so aside from, and the 67% that are having, severe mental health issues right now, or anxiety, there are people behind these stories. And so that's why we didn't just want to take a survey where people, check something or wrote something in about, what they're experiencing. We wanted to call and actually hear from them. And that makes a big difference, and so, the folks that have lost so many people in their lives that are LGBTQ elders, right, who sometimes we forget to take care of, and we have to remember they took care of us. They set the tone for us. They were the ones, fighting at Stonewall. They were the ones fighting before that allows us to be here today, to have a Zoom conference to talk about how we're still going to have Pride during a pandemic when we can't come together. So we have to make sure we take care of them. And that was just so heartbreaking when I spoke with some of the folks who filled out the forms. And it's not only heartbreaking, but the work that we need to do needs to be inspiring also. And it sounds like all the work, all the plans that are being put together here are going to be inspiring at National Grid, at Capital One, and at many other companies. But we're hoping that our virtual Pride could bring everybody together, because I know one of the great things that happens is that, every company is able to show off their pride. And I also want to say something out there. We know in the LGBTQ community, we're very opinionated, right? And that there's lots of different opinions out there. And, sometimes we hear, well, what is Pride about? Is Pride about, as it started out, as a march? Is it this now corporate parade? What is it? And it's everything, right? Because we're celebrating Pride right now, and every year, not just because it's fun, because it saves lives. I mean, there's some young kid out there, or it doesn't matter what age you are, but particularly our young people who are not comfortable to come out right now, and they're seeing people march in the streets. They're seeing people of all different backgrounds come together, marching out and proud. There are also those young kids out there that are seeing ERGs like National Grid and Capital One marching and saying, you know what, there's a future for me, and that's a company I could work for. And it's so important that we support everyone in whatever they think Pride is, or what Pride is to them. And you know what? That's what it's about. It's about coming together as a collective, and being able to march in the streets. If we say, you know what, we still should be able to donate blood. Gay and bisexual men right now should be able to contribute to what may be a vaccine. We're still not allowed to donate blood. There's a 3-month waiting period, and you can't have sex in those 3 months. So, whereas the same restrictions aren't put on heterosexual folks. There's a Supreme Court case that's happened, and we know that, it's crazy stuff going on down in Washington, D.C., where it's not so supportive. And we have to be out there and we have to be visible and we have to bring more people in. It is a statement, it is advocacy, it is celebration, it's education, it's all of those things together. And we should be able to create pride that welcomes everyone for whatever that pride is. And so as part of our virtual pride, we're hoping that, Alanna, you mentioned earlier about sponsorship, and thank you both for sponsoring the LGBT network as part of releasing our virtual pride. We're also going to release our sponsorship book, because it's difficult on everyone right now, but the LGBT network, as many other nonprofits, are facing some difficulty because our fundraising events are canceled. This Saturday, we would be having a huge summer kickoff in the Hamptons. That is not going to be able to take place. That's one of our largest fundraisers. So we're hoping that folks do sponsor Pride. There is plenty of opportunities to have like commercials during this. There's got to be a lot of unique opportunities that we're going to be able to offer to folks. But that's my little diatribe on why Pride is so important. And I sit back here and doing this for, it's the 30th anniversary of Pride. I'm one of the founders, so it's 30 years, at least on Long Island. And 26 years with the LGBT network. And every time I see, folks like Alanna from National Grid and Sean from Capital One and so many other companies doing it, it just makes our community that much better. It just gives that much more opportunity to our young people. And I can't thank you enough for what you're doing to make it better at your respective companies, but also it goes way beyond the work that you're doing at your company to making a big difference and change in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you for that, David. That's awesome. Love that. Yeah, it's amazing. 30 years since Long Island Pride, and such an incredible origins. I just love that. And Alanna and Sean, I don't know if you wanted to kind of add to that or respond to that.
I think you pretty much summarized it like amazingly. Everything you were saying at certain points, I was like getting a little bit of goosebumps. So I don't think I can add to that, but I completely and wholeheartedly agree with everything that you said about what Pride, how it should be viewed, what it stands for. It is about making a better community for all of us. It's not about, Capital One and National Grid marching down the road to promote our business. It's to show that we are supporters of the community and we respect everyone. I think that's a big key part. That's all I'll say about that.
Great. Alanna, did you want to add on?
Yeah, I mean, again, between David and Sean, it's been said, I agree wholeheartedly. Setting the example for the youth. And, I'm very proud to work for a company like National Grid or like Capital One, because we create the culture of being inclusive and being supportive. And it's not just a job and it's not just a place to work, but it's a place that appreciates the employees for who they are, what they stand for, and not just, the work that they do. It's, the whole person, which is great.
That's beautiful.
And you get a cool t-shirt and buttons too.
I love swag.
Me too. I love swag too.
Swag, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That is so funny. So if anyone has any questions here on Zoom or on Facebook Live, please ask. And I want to thank Alanna and Sean for doing what you do at your companies, because it's so important, and standing up and bringing other people with you. Companies need workplace leaders. That's you. And it's great because you're supporting us, which is really great. But our workplace initiative, obviously, we're working to support people like you and others who are doing this work and bringing together these resources, because you're the folks who are doing the work, you're the experts, and our job is to help you and support you. And I know there are plenty of other workplace initiative advisory volunteers here today, so I want to thank them as well. We're here. So if you have questions, if you need something, please reach out to us. We can always connect you with other folks who are doing this work as well, so that they can help you and you can help each other. You all help each other. That's really what this is about. Any closing remarks from anyone before we close up?
Have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend and have fun planning all your Pride events for June.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just my closing thoughts would be stick with this. don't let it just pass by thinking that you can't, because you can. So it may not be the biggest, brightest, boldest, craziest celebration of Pride you've ever had, but it's still acknowledging it. And I think that's key. So if you want to make something happen, make it happen, see it through, keep giving those gentle nudges. I've found that things are moving very slowly, being remote full time and getting kind of responses from people sometimes. So you just kind of have to keep chipping away at it and present the ideas, even if you think it's crazy, just put it out there and, see if everybody goes for it. Um, Definitely celebrate Pride 2020 in any form that you can.
Definitely. Definitely. David?
I agree. And, our saying at the LGBT network, which we put out in a few things, is even while we're in, we're out. And, and I want to thank both Alanna and Sean and everyone else out there for making that possible for the folks at your companies. But, and that's what Pride will do. It doesn't matter if we're in, we can be out, and we need to be out, and we will be. So thank you.
That's a great way to end. I want to thank everyone for joining us for celebrating Pride virtually with your Employee Resource Group at ERG today. Please join us. Make sure you mark calendars for June 14th to celebrate Pride virtually with LGBT Network. And we look forward to talking with you. And please, if you can, if your company can, please join us as a sponsor so that we can make our Pride bigger and better than it's ever been. Thank you to everyone. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.